Stretching along the eastern bank of the life-giving Nile, at first light the water gleams like hammered gold, and the modern city of Luxor stands upon the foundations of an ancient metropolis. This was Upper Egypt, far to the south of the delta, where the Nile narrows between desert cliffs. Here stood Waset, called Thebes by the Greeks. The poet Homer called it the City of 100 Gates. In the early days, Waset was the heart of the fourth Upper Egyptian nome. Its patron Montu, a fierce war god whose cult endured even as other deities rose. For centuries during the New Kingdom, Thebes served as the religious and political heart of a sprawling empire. Its wealth legendary, its influence unparalleled, its horizon dominated by monumental temples and vast necropolises. It was a landscape crafted for eternity. Prosperity flowed with the river's rhythm. Akhet, the inundation. Pere, the season of growth. And Shemu, the harvest. The Nile's pulse sustained kings and craftsmen alike. Thebes was neatly divided by the great river. On the eastern bank, where the sun rose, grand temples for the living gods and the bustling city of the people. This was the domain of life, of daily ritual, and of royal ceremony. At Karnak, the Theban triad, Amun, his consort Mut, and their son Khonsu, held court in adjoining precincts, linked by avenues and colossal gates. On the western bank, where the sun set, lay the realm of the dead, valley of the kings, valley of the queens, stark cliffs and quiet facades under a cooler light. Here, pharaohs and their consorts were laid to rest in elaborate tombs, preparing for their voyage into the afterlife. This dualistic layout was no accident. It was a physical manifestation of the Egyptian understanding of existence, birth, death, and rebirth, mirrored in the journey of the sun, god Ra, across the sky. The living self and the vital essence, the Ba and the Ka, were thought to reunite with the rising sun, renewing order as light returned each day. During Egypt's Old Kingdom, the era of the Great Pyramids, power was consolidated in the north around Memphis. Thebes, Waset, remained in relative obscurity as a southern outpost. However, history's currents are ever-shifting. The turning point came around 2055 BC, when Amenhotep II of Thebes reunited the fractured land of Egypt. After the first intermediate period's turmoil, Thebes rose to preeminence, becoming royal capital in the Middle Kingdom and setting the stage for new kingdom grandeur. The local Theban god, Amun, once a minor deity tied to the breath of life, began his ascent. He merged with the sun god Ra, becoming Amun-Ra, king of the gods. This imperial splendor was most evident on the east bank. The humble shrine to Amun was gradually expanded into the sprawling complex of Karnak, the largest religious building ever built, its forests of columns and obelisks proclaiming Thebes as the axis of heaven and earth. In this climate of prosperity and religious fervor, a second, unique sanctuary took shape just to the south. As night falls and colonnades glow, that vision crystallizes at Luxor, a temple for the living king, to which we now turn. Among the great temples of Thebes, Luxor holds a very special distinction. While most Egyptian temples were dedicated to the worship of a specific deity or to the mortuary cult of a deceased pharaoh, Luxor Temple served a different, more dynamic purpose. Instead, it was dedicated to the divine nature of kingship itself. Not a tomb for the dead, nor merely a god's house, Luxor affirmed a living office. It renewed the reigning king's sacred mandate. This was a place of rejuvenation. a sacred stage where the human king's royal car was renewed and his right to rule ceremonially reaffirmed. It was, in essence, a temple for the living king. The rite traced a clear path: entry and purification at the forecourt, offerings in colonnades and courts, oracular consultation, then approach to the sanctuary, each station marking stages of renewal. Central to this belief was the royal car, a life force, a spiritual double, an inherent divine essence. Passed from pharaoh to pharaoh like a sacred flame, it ensured continuity. Within Luxor's walls, especially in the divine birthroom, scenes show the king's conception and divine endorsement. Not by his mortal father, but by Amun-Ra himself. These images were not propaganda. They were theological statements, carved in stone to assert the king's divine origins. Amun visits the queen. The god decrees a son. Khnum fashions the child and his car on the wheel. A goddess nurses him, iconography of legitimacy set in relief. Khnum is depicted at his potter's wheel, fashioning the body of the infant king and his spiritual double. The inner sanctuary, the holiest part of any temple, was the physical embodiment of the primordial mound, where the creative energies of the universe were most concentrated. Before it, the sun court blazes with open light. The colonnade channels movement along the axis, architecture teaching ascent toward concentrated divinity. As one moves deeper into the temple, the floors gently slope upwards, the ceilings gradually slope downwards. The effect creates a feeling of compression and ascent, guiding the procession toward the inner sanctum as if climbing the primordial mound. Priests bear the bark to rest stations, incense coils in lamplight, sistrums and drums marking measured time, ritual rhythm mirroring sun and season. Spaces become smaller, darker, more exclusive, separating the holy from the profane, culminating in the chamber of the king's transformation, where time collapsed and myth and present merged. At Luxor, stone remembers choices made in sunlight. Amenhotep III set the tone, measured elegance, clear axis, and a radiant sun court whose papyrus columns seemed to unfurl like reeds in a breeze. Behind the beauty lay logistics: sandstone quarried upriver, ferried by the Nile's current, seasonal winds easing the journey as barges moved their burden toward Thebes. Arriving rough, the blocks met the artisan's grid: charcoal lines, copper chisels, and the steady rhythm of mallet on stone. Sunk relief caught the light. Pigments once blazed: indigo, red ochre, malachite green, now whispers clinging to shadow. Then the Amarna storm, Akhenaten recut devotion, names chiselled away, Talatut where tradition had stood. After his reign, restoration followed. Tutankhamun, Ai and Horemheb stitching the old order back into the walls. A century on, Ramesses II widened the stage, new pylon, courts and colossi declaring presence. His Kadesh scenes read like theatre, chariots racing, shields overlapping, the king enlarged, victory inevitable. Note the angle. Ramesses skewed his front to greet Karnak and the festival way. The line ran along the avenue of the Sphinxes, binding temple to temple in measured procession. In modern times, a bolder claim arose, that Luxor's plan mirrors the human body, a temple of man. Scholars debate it still. Most find poetry more than proof, yet the idea lingers like incense after procession. At the gate stood twin obelisks, red granite with gilded tips catching dawn. From quarry to river, engineers mastered weight and balance, sledges, barges and ropes guiding stone into story. One remains in Egypt, Its sibling stands in Paris, a needle of Nile light against European skies, hauled, shipped and raised anew in 1836. Here, additions do not erase intent. They layer it, craft, creed and kingship pressed into stone. And with night, the colonnade glows, preparing the path for ritual life to come. At dawn, dust motes drift through slanting light. Priests wash at a stone basin, breath white in the cool. The Opet Festival, held in the second month of Akhet, unfolds over many days. Linen is tied, gold-trimmed bark shrines polished. Musicians test sistrums and frame drums. Offerings are counted, bread loaves stacked, beer jars sealed with clay. Sacred statues are lifted into their portable shrines, the divine barks, screens glinting, poles wrapped in fresh linen and palm fronds for shade. Awnings are rigged at rest stations, incense is lit, standard bearers form ranks. The route is measured, the rhythm rehearsed. From Karnak's great pylon, the procession begins, moving south toward Luxor along the Avenue of the Sphinxes. Stones warm under morning feet. Crowds line the way, priests shoulder the barks, standard bearers advance. Bread and beer are shared among the people, dancers clap time to cymbals. The avenue is guarded by ranks of sphinxes, ram-headed and human-headed, silent and identical, guiding the sacred way. At times the river bears the barks. Feluccas drift with oars and flags, ripples catching sun. At rest stations, oracles are sought. The bark sways, the crowd hushes, then erupts. In Luxor's forecourt, the sun is fierce, incense hangs in heat. Through the colonnade, the axis draws the procession inward, space compressing, light narrowing. In the sanctuary, dark, lamplight on reliefs, oils anoint. Hymns rise. Here the royal car is ritually renewed. The king's mandate is made current again. He emerges to acclamation. Drums tighten, petals fall, the city answering the god's approval. Renewal is performed as much as believed. Centuries later, the complex was reordered for Rome. Plastered rooms held faint fresco. Altars and soldiers' graffiti marked an imperial cult layered over older rites. In late antiquity, a church occupied part of the temple. Cross motifs faint on stone, an apse traced in pigment and dust. Then Islam's long centuries, the Abu Haggag Mosque rose atop accumulated sands, its doorway high above a courtyard still buried. Modern excavations lowered the courts, leaving the mosque perched like a witness. Today, the restored avenue binds Karnak to Luxor once more. Visitors walk at twilight. Luxor Temple speaks in layers. Festival and oracle, empire and parish, mosque and museum, each generation reading the stone anew. Not a ruin, but a living document of craft and devotion, continuity made visible, legitimacy rehearsed, the divine approached in measured steps. Romans repurposed it, Christians consecrated it, and the call to prayer still rises from Abu Haggag, threading present to past. Under stars above the pylons, stone keeps faith with memory. From festival way to sanctuary, the city prepares again for the return of light. Imagine, if you will, a vast sun-drenched plain. The mighty Nile River flows nearby, its waters a ribbon of life through the arid land. Here on the west bank, opposite the modern city of Luxor, stand two giants, their immense figures carved from single blocks of stone. They sit silently on thrones, facing the rising sun. For more than 3,000 years they've watched empires rise and fall. They've seen countless dawns break over the Theban hills. These are the colossi of Memnon. Twin statues of a great pharaoh, frozen in time yet somehow alive-looking. They're the last remnants of a world long vanished. These figures are truly colossal. Each rises to about 60 feet, roughly the height of a modern 5-story building, carved from quartzite sandstone, an incredibly hard stone. Their weight is staggering, over 700 tons each. Imagine stacking more than 100 adult African elephants. For centuries they've sat, weathered by wind and sand, features worn, bodies cracked, but presence utterly commanding, not merely statues, guardians of a forgotten gateway. These two statues did not always sit in such lonely isolation. Behind them stretched one of the largest and most opulent mortuary temples ever built in Egypt. It was the Temple of Pharaoh Amenhotep III. The temple complex covered a vast area sprawling over nearly 87 acres. Today almost nothing of it remains above ground. The annual floods of the Nile have washed it all away. Imagine this temple in its heyday. A long avenue lined with sphinxes would have led visitors towards the main entrance. Great courtyards filled with statues, columns opened up one after another, walls covered in vibrant reliefs depicting the pharaoh's great deeds. Priests would have performed daily rituals, their chants echoing through the sacred spaces. Only the two colossal quartzite statues were too massive, too heavy to be moved, and so they remain, solitary witnesses to the grandeur that once lay behind them. For centuries, the northern Colossus held a strange and captivating secret. Following a powerful earthquake in 27 BC, which shattered its upper half, the statue began to sing at dawn. As the first rays of sunlight warmed the cool morning stone, a strange musical sound would emerge from the fractured giant. It was described by early travellers as a sad, whistling moan, or sometimes like the snapping of a harp string. This phenomenon turned the silent stone giant into an ancient oracle. People travelled from all corners of the Roman Empire, from Greece to Rome, to hear the mysterious sound for themselves. The Greeks and the Romans re-identified the statues. They did not see the Egyptian pharaoh Amenhotep III. Instead, they saw Memnon, the mythical hero king of Ethiopia. In Greek mythology, Memnon was the son of Eos, the goddess of the dawn. He had fought bravely in the Trojan War, only to be slain by the great warrior Achilles. The Romans believed that the mournful sound was Memnon crying out to his mother, the dawn goddess, each morning as she greeted him with her light. Distinguished visitors, including several Roman emperors, made the pilgrimage. The Emperor Hadrian and his wife Sabina visited in 130 AD and heard the sound on multiple occasions. These visitors often left inscriptions on the statue's legs and base. Like a visitor's book carved in stone, tell us who came, when they came, and whether they were fortunate enough to hear the lament of Memnon. Around the year 199 AD, the Roman Emperor Septimius Severus had the fractured upper half of the statue repaired using several blocks of sandstone. His intention was to honor the oracle, but by repairing the statue, he inadvertently silenced it. Memnon fell silent and has remained so ever since. The creation of these stone giants began at a place called Gebel El Ahmar, near modern-day Cairo, over 400 miles to the north. They freed two monolithic blocks. The massive block was likely dragged on a wooden sledge from the quarry to the banks of the Nile River. At the river, the block was loaded onto an enormous barge. The journey up the Nile was a slow and majestic procession. Arriving at Thebes was only half the battle. They painstakingly hauled the blocks into their final positions. Once positioned, the final carving could begin. A process of subtraction revealed the divine figure from raw quartzite. The man immortalized in these two colossal statues was a real and incredibly powerful ruler, Pharaoh Amenhotep III. He reigned during the 18th dynasty, the golden age of ancient Egypt. His reign brought remarkable stability, unprecedented prosperity, and breathtaking artistic achievement. He was the greatest builder of his age. His construction projects were vast and numerous, transforming the landscape of Egypt. The most ambitious of all Amenhotep III's projects was his own mortuary temple. It was a place where Amenhotep III, the living man, could merge with his own divine image and be worshipped as a god on earth. Their purpose was to announce the divine nature of the temple's owner and to magically protect the sacred precinct that lay behind them. They were the eternal watchers at the threshold of the pharaoh's heavenly mansion. The colossi of Memnon have endured more than just the passage of 3 millennia. They've survived centuries of natural disasters and human interference. Later pharaohs and Roman builders plundered the site. The annual flooding of the Nile River was a relentless enemy to the monuments on the floodplain. For centuries, folks believed the Grand Mortuary Temple was lost forever. But since 1998, a dedicated team of archaeologists has been working to uncover the secrets buried beneath the soil. The most exciting discoveries have been the hundreds of statues and statue fragments that have been pulled from the mud, especially the lioness-headed goddess Sekhmet. In a remarkable effort, they've lifted and restored several other colossal statues, placing them back in their original positions. The lost temple is slowly and honestly, quite magically, rising from the earth once more. Long after the Roman pilgrims had departed, the colossi continued to exert a powerful pull on the human imagination, portraying them as sublime, melancholic figures brooding over a lost golden age. Today, millions of tourists from every corner of the globe make the journey to stand at their feet. Their silhouettes at sunrise have become a defining visual of a trip to Luxor. They have been oracles, landmarks, romantic ruins, and scientific treasures. They have watched over the land as beliefs, languages, and empires have turned to dust around them. The colossi of Memnon are more than just stone and more than just history. They are a vital part of our shared human heritage. Silent sentinels watching over the eternal dawn of civilization. Their mystery and majesty an enduring gift to the world. They will continue to inspire awe and wonder for as long as they stand. If you look closer, the colossi of Memnon have even more secrets to share, some only revealed in recent years. Once, these giants were not the sun-bleached sandstone we see today. Traces of vibrant pigment suggest their surfaces gleamed with colour. Deep reds, ochres, hints of blue, hints of green. Imagine sunlight dancing on painted crowns, royal regalia, transforming the statues into dazzling guardians of the temple. Centuries of visitors have left their own marks on these ancient titans. Greek travellers, Roman travellers carved their names and messages into the stone. These ancient graffitis still whisper stories of distant lands and long-forgotten hopes, etched for eternity at the feet of pharaohs. Today, the colossi stand at the crossroads of past and future. Conservators, scientists protect them from erosion, pollution, the relentless march of time. 3D scanning, seismic monitoring experts peering inside the stone, mapping hidden cracks, mapping subtle shifts that could threaten their stability. Each scan helps preserve a digital replica, safeguarding their likeness even as the originals age. Recent discoveries continue to surprise. New fragments, once believed lost, have surfaced, adding missing pieces to the puzzle of the mortuary temple. Were there once matching statues to the north and south? Could undiscovered chambers lie beneath the sand? Modern tourists gaze up in wonder, becoming part of the colossi's living story, one still unfolding, layer by layer in the Egyptian sun. The silent sentinels endure as ever-evolving witnesses to the dreams and questions of every new generation. Few know that these ancient guardians may have served as celestial markers. Some researchers believe the statues were aligned to greet the rising sun at solstice, their massive forms casting long shadows that tracked the passage of time. Inscriptions found nearby hint at rituals performed at dawn, priests invoking the power of the gods as sunlight touched the stone faces. Were the colossi silent astronomers watching the heavens as well as the Nile? In recent years, restoration efforts have sparked passionate controversy. Advanced cleaning techniques promise to revive lost details, but some experts warned, could aggressive methods erase precious traces of pigment or ancient tool marks? A delicate balance emerged, preserving the statues for the future without silencing their past. Modern technology is peeling back layers of mystery. Meanwhile, microanalysis of the sandstone has traced its origins to distant quarries, raising new questions about the logistics and labor behind their creation. Perhaps most surprising, scientists have uncovered evidence that the colossi voices might not be entirely silent today. Under certain conditions, as the desert cools at dawn, faint vibrations have been recorded, echoes of the ancient singing phenomenon, now understood as a rare interplay of temperature, stone and air. Each discovery deepens our fascination. The colossi of Memnon remain not just relics, but partners in a timeless dialogue. As the sun rises over the Theban plain, the colossi of Memnon stand not only as sentinels of Egypt's ancient past, but as treasures cherished by all humanity. Today, these monumental figures are protected as part of the Theban necropolis, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, recognized for its unparalleled historical and cultural significance. This prestigious status brings the eyes of the world to Luxor, and with them a global commitment to preservation. International experts, local artisans and passionate volunteers unite under the blue and white banner of UNESCO, working tirelessly to conserve not just the colossi, but the entire necropolis, home to the Valley of the Kings, the Valley of the Queens, temples, tombs. Sweeping aerial views reveal the scale of this sacred landscape, while close-ups show careful hands at work, restoring weathered stone, monitoring environmental changes, and ensuring that every detail is protected for generations yet to come. UNESCO plaques stand as silent promises, reminders that the story of the colossi of ancient Egypt itself belongs to people everywhere. Through global stewardship and shared pride, the colossi of Memnon endure. Their shadows stretch into the future, icons of resilience, memory and hope. In safeguarding these giants, we honor the dreams of the past and inspire the promise of tomorrow. Long before the modern world recognized the colossi of Memnon as a universal heritage, these monumental statues captivated the imaginations of distant civilizations. Among the most enchanted were the ancient Greeks, travelers, scholars, and adventurers. Through the eyes of Greek visitors, the colossi became more than silent sentinels. They were transformed into legends. Greek historians, poets, and explorers like Strabo and Pausanias recorded their awe in vivid detail. Some arrived at dawn hoping to hear the mysterious singing of the northern statue. They believed it was the voice of Memnon, son of Eos, goddess of the dawn, greeting his mother with a mournful melody at sunrise. Manuscripts and ancient sketches reveal Greek artists trying to capture the statue's grandeur. Charcoal strokes tracing enigmatic features that seem both familiar and otherworldly. Greek myths blended with Egyptian history, weaving new stories around the colossi. Tales of Memnon as a tragic hero of the Trojan War, his spirit lingering in stone, bridging two great cultures. This fascination sparked exchanges of art, language and belief. Greek and Egyptian craftsmen shared techniques, and Hellenistic motifs began to appear in local art. The colossi featured in Greek writings, inspiring generations of artists and thinkers, echoing through the centuries as symbols of mystery and connection. Statues bathed in golden light, we see them anew, not just as Egyptian marvels, but as beacons that once drew the curious and the wise from across the ancient world. In their silent watch, the colossi of Memnon remind us of the timeless human quest, to seek, to wonder, to share in the marvels of our past. Imagine sailing across the tranquil waters of Lake Nasser in southern Egypt, where the serene environment envelops you in a sense of timelessness. The sun bathes the landscape in a warm golden light, casting long shadows and creating a mesmerizing play of colors on the water's surface. As you glide across the lake, a majestic sight emerges on the horizon, gradually revealing itself in the distance. A sandstone temple, its massive pylons reaching for the sky, stands as a testament to a bygone era, echoing the grandeur of ancient civilizations. This is the Temple of Kalabshah, a magnificent structure that has witnessed the ebb and flow of history for over 2 millennia, standing proudly by the lake. The Temple of Kalabshah, originally situated at Bab al-Kalabshah, was one of the largest and most impressive temples in Nubia, showcasing the architectural prowess of its builders. Nubia, an ancient region spanning southern Egypt and northern Sudan, was a land of rich history and vibrant culture, where the past and present intertwine. The Nubians, renowned for their strength and resilience, developed a unique civilization that interacted closely with their Egyptian neighbors, sharing and exchanging cultural and technological advancements. The Temple of Kalabshah stands as a powerful symbol of this dynamic relationship, embodying the rich tapestry of Nubian and Egyptian history. The Temple of Kalabshah was dedicated to Mandulis, the Nubian sun god. This magnificent structure stands as a testament to the rich cultural and religious heritage of ancient Nubia. Mandulis, often depicted as a falcon-headed man, represented power, protection, and healing in Nubian belief. His image adorned many temples and monuments, symbolizing his importance in the daily lives of the Nubian people. He was a central figure in the Nubian pantheon, revered as a benevolent deity who brought light and life to the land. The sun, a vital element in Nubian culture, was seen as his divine manifestation. The temple at Kalabshah served as a place of worship and devotion, where offerings were made and rituals performed to honor this powerful god. Priests conducted ceremonies to ensure the favor of Mandulis, seeking his blessings for prosperity and health. The construction of the temple spanned several centuries, beginning during the Roman period in the reign of Emperor Augustus around 30 BC. This long construction period allowed for a blend of styles and influences. Over the years, subsequent rulers, including Roman emperors and Nubian kings, added their own contributions to the temple complex. Each ruler left their mark, enriching the temple's history and significance. This blend of architectural styles and artistic influences reflects the diverse cultural tapestry that shaped the history of Kalabshah. The temple stands as a symbol of the enduring legacy of Nubian and Roman collaboration. The Temple of Kalabshah, built with sandstone quarried from the surrounding desert, is a masterpiece of ancient architecture. Its massive pylons, adorned with intricate carvings, lead into a series of courtyards, halls and sanctuaries. The walls of the temple are covered with hieroglyphics and reliefs depicting scenes from Egyptian mythology, religious rituals and the lives of pharaohs. Within the temple's sacred chambers, priests perform daily rituals, offering prayers and sacrifices to appease the gods. The scent of incense filled the air as worshippers gathered in the courtyards, seeking the favor of Mandulis and other deities. The temple was not only a place of worship, but also a center of learning and culture, where scribes copied sacred texts and artists honed their skills. For centuries, the Temple of Kalabshah stood as a beacon of faith and culture, its massive structure seemingly impervious to the passage of time. However, in the 20th century, a modern marvel threatened its very existence: the construction of the Aswan High Dam, a monumental project aimed at controlling the flow of the Nile River and generating hydroelectric power, would create a vast reservoir behind it, Lake Nasser. The rising waters of Lake Nasser would submerge many ancient sites, including the Temple of Kalabshah. Recognizing the immense historical and cultural value of these monuments, the Egyptian government, in collaboration with UNESCO, launched an international campaign to save them from a watery grave. The international campaign to save the monuments of Nubia, launched in 1960, was an unprecedented undertaking. It was a call to action that resonated across the globe, drawing attention to the rich cultural heritage at risk of being lost forever. Archaeologists, engineers and experts from around the world joined forces in a race against time to document, dismantle and relocate threatened monuments. This collaborative effort showcased the power of international cooperation in preserving history. The Temple of Luxor, one of the largest and most significant structures at risk, became a focal point of this international effort. Its grandeur and historical importance made it a symbol of the campaign's success. The relocation process was a remarkable feat of engineering. It required innovative solutions and meticulous planning to ensure the temple's integrity was maintained throughout the move. First, the temple was meticulously documented, with every stone, carving and inscription carefully photographed and catalogued. This detailed record was crucial for the accurate reassembly of the temple at its new location. Then, the temple was carefully dismantled, with each block numbered and its original location recorded. This painstaking process ensured that the temple could be reconstructed exactly as it had stood for centuries. The disassembled blocks were then transported to a new site, higher ground that would remain above the waterline of Lake Nasser. This new location would protect the temple from the rising waters, preserving it for future generations to admire and study. After years of meticulous work, the Temple of Luxor was reassembled on a small island just south of the Aswan High Dam. This new location, carefully chosen to resemble the temple's original setting as much as possible, offered a safe haven for the ancient monument. Today the temple stands proudly on its island home, its sandstone walls glowing in the warm Egyptian sun. The relocation of the Temple of Luxor stands as a testament to the power of international cooperation and the importance of preserving our shared cultural heritage. It serves as a reminder that even in the face of seemingly insurmountable challenges, humanity can come together to protect the treasures of the past for future generations. In recognition of its outstanding universal value, the Temple of Luxor, along with other monuments relocated during the Nubian salvage campaign, was inscribed on the UNESCO World Heritage List in 1979. This prestigious designation recognizes the temple's significance as an exceptional example of ancient Nubian architecture and a testament to the rich cultural heritage of the region. The inscription of the Temple of Luxor on the World Heritage List highlights the importance of preserving cultural heritage for present and future generations. It serves as a reminder of the enduring power of the past to inspire, educate, and connect us to our shared human history. The Temple of Luxor offers a fascinating glimpse into the religious beliefs and practices of ancient Nubia. The temple's reliefs and inscriptions provide valuable insights into the worship of Mandulis, the Nubian sun god, and his role in the lives of the people. They also shed light on the interactions between the Nubian and Egyptian cultures, revealing a complex tapestry of shared traditions and unique beliefs. One intriguing feature of the Temple of Luxor is the presence of a small chapel dedicated to the worship of Augustus, the first Roman emperor. This chapel, built during the Roman period, reflects the influence of Roman rule in Nubia and the syncretic nature of religious beliefs in the ancient world. Today, the Temple of Luxor stands as a popular tourist destination, attracting visitors from around the world who come to marvel at its architectural grandeur and soak up its historical significance. As you explore the temple's courtyards and chambers, let your imagination transport you back in time to an era of pharaohs, gods, and ancient rituals. The Temple of Luxor is more than just a monument. It is a living testament to the enduring power of human ingenuity, resilience, and the timeless allure of the past. Its journey from its original location on the banks of the Nile to its new home on Lake Nasser serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of preserving our shared cultural heritage for generations to come. Tanis, modern San el Hagar, lies in Egypt's northeastern Nile Delta. In the late New Kingdom, as the Pelusiac branch shifted and Ramesses lost its river, a new centre took shape here among marshes and lagoons. Quiet today, it once stood at a crossroads of channels and silt. In the 21st and 22nd dynasties, Tanis rose as a northern capital. The Amun triad, Amun, Mut and Khonsu, framed kingship and festival here. Royal presence gathered around temples and courts on higher ground. The great temple precinct grew within a vast enclosure, pylons, courts, obelisks. Many stones came from Ramesside monuments at Ramesses, brought north when harbours changed. Reuse was pragmatic policy. Established forms serving a new place. Canals tied the precinct to a river port and the port to delta and sea. Grain, timber, oils and fine wares moved by boat. Levees and quays shaped the shoreline. Prosperity followed the water. Beyond the walls, urban life is clear in traces, workshops, ovens and lanes. Potters fired Nile clay. Metalworkers shaped gold and silver, fishermen kept the canals. Festivals of the Amun triad threaded avenues between sphinxes and pylons. At Tanis, sacred stone was set again with purpose. Older names beside newer cartouches. What seems patchwork reads as continuity. Authority renewed in familiar granite. Beneath the sand, floors and walls built up in layers, a careful eye can read. Delta silt can both conceal and preserve. Wood, cordage and basketry survive in the damp. Yet the same shifting channels could quiet harbours and streets. As water moved, fortunes moved with it. Even so, Tanis endured, reconfigured rather than erased. Among columns and obelisks, a clear grammar appears: reuse, renewal, remembrance. Each block holds a prior life and a new role. In the north, Tanis answered Egypt's southern heartlands, a partner in cult and state. Here, faith and policy met in stone, and the ground kept a crowded archive. The quiet is only on the surface. As scholars sift that record, Tanis returns to view, its temples, streets and kings. Ahead lies the account of royal burials found here, art, ritual and power preserved. From these sands, a northern necropolis will speak. 19th century visitors first sketched Tanis. Auguste Mariette noting mounds and blocks, then Flinders Petrie measuring walls and cataloguing inscriptions. Maps, rubbings and early photographs fix features on the delta plain, coordinates before conclusions. In 1929, Pierre Montet began a systematic French mission at Tanis. Grids laid, notes kept, photographs logged. In 1939-1940, a sealed doorway opened to lamplight, intact royal chambers recorded before removal. War halted the work. Teams returned in the mid-1940s. They mapped chambers and niches, numbered blocks and jars, and photographed nested burials in orderly rows. Recording came first, plans inked, tags tied, exposures checked at the trench edge. Conservators stabilized fragile surfaces before a piece was moved. Later seasons joined French and Egyptian teams, surveys, photogrammetry, and careful rereads of earlier notes. Radiography and metal analysis added quiet evidence to names and dates. Geoarchaeology mapped paleo-channels around the site. Sand lenses, clay bands, and former branches of the Nile traced like a palimpsest. In labs and field tents, small tools did the work. Brushes, swabs, supports, materials read before any treatment. Under lamplight and microscope, gold leaf, textiles and timber were steadied. Joins were documented before storage. Catalogues linked objects to contexts so that the record stayed readable. Archives, plans, photographs, registers anchor attributions from the 21st and 22nd dynasties. Ongoing research refines them. Dates nudged, identifications clarified, methods explained in print. In Cairo, conserved pieces rest in quiet galleries. Publications and archives carry the site's record forward. From Tanis, method guides the story. Finds, contexts, and careful words returning to view. The great temple precinct of Amun at Tanis stands wide to the sky. Massive enclosure walls, pylons, and open courts still trace the plan. Stone frames empty space. The scale remains legible in light and wind. Sunlit passes reveal long axes, gateways, forecourts, and processional space arranged in sequence. From above, the enclosure reads clearly against the delta plain. Standing pieces punctuate the courts, obelisks, colossal statues, and sphinxes. Many are Ramesside works brought here and set anew. Bases and plinths show re-erection, old stone on new footings, alignments adjusted to fit the precinct. Reuse is visible, measured, deliberate. Scattered architectural blocks lie in ranks, column drums, lintels, and fragments with crisp cartouches. Mixed origins can be read on their faces, older royal names carried into a later plan. Doorway elements rest in secondary positions, jambs and thresholds reused as fill or boundary. The masonry tells the sequence of moves. Beyond the sacred enclosure, low mud brick mounds outline streets and courtyards, urban traces held by sand. Kiln platforms and work areas sit near the temple edge. Paths thread between brick rises. Eroded corners mark rooms and lanes. At the margins, canal and harbour edges meet the plain. Berms, cuts and waterlines still visible. The delta landscape frames the site, reeds, shallow channels and shifting silt. Ruins and waterways share one horizon. In windswept courts, inscriptions catch and release light, hieroglyphs read by the sun's angle. Surfaces speak plainly where they stand. Details resolve on cartouches and recut figures. Old chisels, new lines, the eye follows joins and tool marks across time. The ruins function as an open archive. Blocks ordered on pads, paths between notes of stone. Observation precedes conclusion. Here, legacy is visible in place. Reuse, renewal, remembrance set in quiet stone. We turn toward legacy and light. At Tanis, a royal necropolis came to light. Tombs of Susenes I, Amenhotep, and Shoshenq II, with material linked to Takalot I and others. Sealed chambers, careful notes, and measured work made their story legible. Susenes I rested within nested coffins, his gold funerary mask and silver inner coffins beside him. Silver scarce in Egypt, associated with cool lunar light. Necklaces, pectorals, amulets and inlays lay as priests had placed them. Around the king stood ranks of Shabti figures, canopic jars observed. Heart scarabs, bead net shrouds and faience rosettes formed ordered layers, the arrangement left by ritual hands. Delta damp preserved reeds, cord, wood and linen, even as it tarnished silver and softened copper alloys. Conservators proceed slowly, radiographs and notes first, swabs, shims and supports after, stabilizing joins and lifting salts. Chemistry and imaging guide the hand. Today, the finds are seen chiefly in Cairo, the Egyptian Museum and the National Museum of Egyptian Civilization. Ongoing cataloguing and analysis continue to refine dates and attributions. Quiet updates that sharpen context. Digital models and archives stitch scattered blocks. Drones and satellites trace paleo channels that frame interpretation. Provenance and open records keep the ledger clear, while teaching passes the method on. Measure, draw, compare. Under gallery lamps, gold burns steady, silver breathes cool. Faience and linen hold a soft light. Legacy here is method and memory. What we preserve is understanding. The mask watches, quiet and constant. Tanis, also called San el-Hagar, carries older names in texts. In the Hebrew Bible, it appears as Zoan. In the Septuagint, Tanis, placing a northern court in the delta. Late antique geographers marked it on river maps, cities strung along shifting branches. Early travellers sketch pylons and obelisks. Photographers fix the ruins in silver light. Reports, engravings and museum displays shape the public imagination of delta capitals. In modern culture, Tanis is often invoked as a lost city in the sands, an image carried by adventure fiction and film. These stories enliven interest, yet blur timelines and places. Archaeology proceeds by trenches and notes, not legends. Context logged, provenance is traced, claims tested against the record. Myth remains myth. Spectacular treasures and sacred objects circulate in stories, not in verified finds at Tanis. What we do have are named kings, mapped tombs and catalogued objects. Quiet data that carries weight. Museums present the evidence, labels explain limits as well as facts. Documentaries and classroom films bring Tanis to new audiences. Measured words over measured drawings. Provenance and method keep the record readable. Digital reconstructions now thread fragments together. Photogrammetry, point clouds and careful overlays re-raise colonnades on screen. Interactive maps trace paleo channels across the delta. Scans and isotopes add sources and joins to the story. Exhibitions pair artifacts with models, context restored without moving a stone. The message endures, shifting rivers, resilient cities. Tanis stands as a northern counterpart to Thebes, two voices in Egypt's wider story. From scriptures to screens, Tanis returns, quiet facts under warm light. The delta breathes, the record remains. Let's travel back in time to meet the Nabateans, a fascinating ancient civilization. They were an ancient people who lived in the deserts of the Middle East, thriving in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Imagine them becoming a powerful force between the 4th and 2nd centuries BC, known for their amazing trading skills and strategic acumen. They were like the experts of their time, controlling important trade routes that connected Arabia, Egypt and the Mediterranean, facilitating the exchange of goods and culture. Think of the valuable goods they transported: spices, incense and myrrh, items that were highly sought after and essential for various rituals and daily life. These goods were super popular in the ancient world, making the Nabateans incredibly influential and wealthy. This trade made them very wealthy, allowing them to build impressive cities and monuments, the most famous being Petra, carved into the cliffs. The Nabateans were also skilled negotiators, adept at keeping peace with different empires and ensuring the safety of their trade routes. This made them important players in the region's trade, acting as intermediaries between various cultures and economies. Even today, historians and archaeologists are fascinated by their legacy as desert traders, uncovering new insights into their sophisticated society and enduring influence. The beginnings of the Nabateans are still a bit of a mystery. Their early history is shrouded in the sands of time, leaving much to the imagination and the diligent work of archaeologists. Scholars, who are like history detectives, believe they were a nomadic Arab people who journeyed from the Arabian Peninsula around the 6th century BC. These scholars piece together clues from ancient texts and artifacts to form a picture of the Nabateans' early days. They settled in what we now know as Jordan, southern Syria, and northwestern Saudi Arabia. This region, with its rugged terrain and strategic location, became the heart of their civilization. Living in this tough desert environment shaped their culture, making them experts at saving water. The harsh conditions of the desert demanded ingenuity and resilience, qualities that the Nabateans possessed in abundance. They came up with clever ways to collect and store water, which helped them thrive in this unforgiving landscape. Their advanced water management systems, including cisterns and rock-cut channels, were marvels of engineering. The name Nabatean might come from the Arabic word nabat, meaning to spring up or grow, which makes sense considering how they flourished in a dry environment. Their ability to adapt and grow in such a harsh climate is a testament to their resourcefulness. The Nabateans left behind a rich cultural legacy, and their impact on the region is still visible today. From the majestic ruins of Petra to the ancient inscriptions that tell their story, the Nabateans continue to captivate our imagination and inspire awe. The Nabateans were known for their advanced and fair society. Unlike many ancient civilizations, they didn't believe in slavery. They believed in working together and sharing responsibility, valuing equality and fairness. The Nabateans were ruled by a royal family, but their system wasn't like a monarchy where the king has absolute power. The king had advisors and a council to give him advice, which suggests a kind of democracy in their government. This focus on justice and collaboration made them successful, creating a strong sense of community. It helped them manage their trade networks and maintain stability for centuries. Their societal structure shows us their progressive values. The Nabateans believed in many gods and goddesses, often connected to nature. They respected the power of the sun, mountains and water. Dushara, the god of the mountains, was their main god, and they also worshipped Alat, a goddess of fertility and prosperity. The Nabateans included elements of other cultures in their religious practices, reflecting their interactions with different civilizations through trade. They considered certain places sacred, building impressive temples and high places for worship. These structures, often carved directly into sandstone cliffs, show off their amazing architectural skills. Their religious beliefs played a big part in their culture and art. The Nabatean kingdom was in a very strategic location, nestled in the heart of the ancient world. They lived in a region that is now Jordan, southern Syria, and parts of Saudi Arabia, a vast and diverse landscape that offered both challenges and opportunities. Their territory included important trade routes, which were the lifeblood of their economy and culture. These routes crossed the Arabian Peninsula and connected to the Mediterranean Sea, facilitating the exchange of goods, ideas and cultures. This strategic location was really important for their economic success, allowing them to become a central hub in the ancient world. It allowed them to control the flow of goods between the East and the West, making them indispensable to traders and merchants. The Nabateans were skilled diplomats, adept at negotiating and maintaining alliances. They maintained peaceful relationships with their neighbours, ensuring stability and prosperity within their borders. This allowed them to focus on trade and development, building a robust economy and sophisticated infrastructure. They built a network of impressive cities, with Petra being the crown jewel, showcasing their architectural prowess. These cities thrived as centres of commerce and culture, attracting people from all over the ancient world. Their ability to thrive in a challenging environment is a testament to their adaptability and ingenuity, leaving a legacy that continues to inspire to this day. The Nabateans were masters of trade. They dominated the lucrative incense route. This route brought frankincense, myrrh and spices from southern Arabia to the Mediterranean. These commodities were highly prized in the ancient world. They were used in religious ceremonies, perfumes and medicines. The Nabateans transported these goods across vast deserts using camel caravans. Their knowledge of the desert and its oases was unparalleled. They developed sophisticated systems for navigation and water conservation. This allowed them to cross vast distances and endure harsh conditions. Their control of the incense route brought them immense wealth and influence. They became key players in the ancient world's economy. The Nabateans are perhaps best known for their capital city, Petra. This magnificent city, located in Jordan, is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Petra is renowned for its awe-inspiring rock-cut architecture. The city is carved directly into towering sandstone cliffs. The most iconic structure in Petra is the treasury. This elaborate facade, carved into the cliff face, is a testament to the Nabateans' architectural genius. It served as a royal tomb. Petra was more than just a city. It was a symbol of Nabatean wealth and power. It showcased their mastery of engineering and art. The Nabateans lived in a complex geopolitical landscape. They interacted with powerful empires like the Ptolemies of Egypt and the Seleucids of Syria. The Nabateans were skilled diplomats. They formed alliances and negotiated their independence. They successfully defended their territory against invasions. They demonstrated their military prowess. In 106 AD, the Roman Empire annexed the Nabatean kingdom. Petra became part of the Roman province of Arabia Petrea. Despite Roman rule, the Nabateans' cultural influence persisted. Their architectural style continued to flourish. The Nabatean kingdom may have fallen to the Romans. However, their legacy continues to resonate today. Their impressive architectural achievements, particularly Petra, continue to inspire awe and wonder. Their innovative water management systems are still studied by modern engineers. The Nabateans made significant contributions to art, language and culture. They developed a distinctive script. This script influenced the development of the Arabic alphabet. Their artistic motifs, blending Eastern and Western influences, reflect their cosmopolitan nature. The Nabateans were a remarkable civilization. They thrived in a challenging environment. They built a prosperous kingdom on trade and innovation. Their story is a testament to human ingenuity and resilience. Their legacy continues to enrich our understanding of the ancient world. In the sands of time, few figures emerge with such clarity as Queen Nefertiti. Her name echoes through millennia. She is an icon, a face recognized across the globe. Her image, captured in a breathtaking bust, has become synonymous with ancient Egypt. It speaks of refined beauty and regal poise. This is the story of a ruler at the heart of a revolutionary era during the 18th dynasty. She was more than just the wife of a pharaoh, she was his partner. Together, she and Akhenaten challenged their society, embarking on a cultural and religious revolution. Her life is a tapestry woven with threads of power, love, political intrigue, and deep mystery. To understand Nefertiti is to journey back to a world on the brink of transformation. Nefertiti's life is a captivating mystery. Her origins are debated by historians and archaeologists. She appeared as the great royal wife of Pharaoh Akhenaten. Was she a foreign princess or an Egyptian noblewoman? Records are silent. As queen, she wielded unprecedented influence, depicted in powerful positions. This signaled her unique status in the new religious and political order. She vanished abruptly from the historical record. What happened to her? This silence fuels speculation, leaving us to wonder about her final act. To truly understand Nefertiti, we must embark on a journey back in time. We will travel to the heart of the 18th dynasty, an era of opulence and empire building that created the perfect stage for her rise. We will explore the world she was born into, a land governed by a complex pantheon of gods and a powerful priesthood that had held sway for centuries. It was a world of rigid tradition and divine order, a structure that Nefertiti and her husband were destined to challenge in the most dramatic fashion imaginable, setting in motion a revolution that would change Egypt forever. Our story will follow her marriage to the young pharaoh, Akhenaten, a visionary and a heretic. Together, they turned their backs on the ancient gods of Thebes. They championed a new faith, Atenism, which worshipped a single universal deity, the Aten, represented as the life-giving disk of the sun. We will witness the creation of a new capital city, Akhetaten, the horizon of the Aten built from scratch in the desert. Here, in this grand experiment, Nefertiti was not just a queen, she was a high priestess, a divine intermediary between the Aten and humanity, alongside her husband. We will delve into the contentious debate surrounding her later years. Did Nefertiti rule Egypt in her own right after her husband's death? We will examine the evidence for a female pharaoh known as Neferuaten, who reigned briefly before the famous boy king, Tutankhamun, took the throne. Could this mysterious ruler have been Nefertiti, adopting a new name to legitimize her reign as king? This is one of the most hotly contested issues in modern Egyptology, a puzzle that, if solved, could rewrite our understanding of royal succession and female power in the ancient world. Finally, we will explore her enduring legacy. From the search for her lost tomb to the ongoing scientific quest to identify her mummy, the story of Nefertiti is far from over. She has become a timeless symbol of beauty, power, and female strength, an ancient queen whose influence resonates powerfully in our modern world. Join us as we uncover the story of her life, separate fact from fiction, and attempt to solve the enduring mysteries surrounding Nefertiti, the beautiful one, the Queen of the Nile, and perhaps the female pharaoh of Egypt. To understand Nefertiti, we must first understand her world. Nefertiti was born into the 18th dynasty of Egypt, the New Kingdom. This was an empire at the absolute peak of its power and influence. Warrior pharaohs had expanded Egypt's borders, creating a vast dominion. This was an age of unprecedented prosperity, where immense wealth flowed into the royal coffers. The society Nefertiti entered was one of supreme confidence and stability, built upon centuries of tradition and a deeply ingrained religious system. A vast pantheon of gods and goddesses governed every aspect of daily life. The priests wielded enormous political and economic power. Their influence was second only to that of the pharaoh himself. Nefertiti's future husband was the son of Pharaoh Amenhotep III. The reign of Amenhotep III represented the zenith of this golden age. His court was the most opulent in the world. He commissioned magnificent temples. This was the glittering world that Nefertiti was destined to enter and ultimately to help overturn. This was a world defined by Ma'at, the divine principle of order. The pharaoh's primary duty was to uphold Ma'at. The art and architecture were all designed to reflect this perfect order. It was into this civilization that Nefertiti arrived, a woman whose destiny was intertwined with a man who would soon decide that a radical new vision was required for Egypt. Around 1353 BC, Nefertiti became the great royal wife of Pharaoh Amenhotep IV, placing her at the center of Egyptian power. As queen, she was an essential partner in the divine kingship. From the beginning, it was clear this would be a powerful partnership. Inscriptions emphasized the Aten, represented as a solar disk. Nefertiti and Amenhotep IV had 6 daughters. Amenhotep IV and Nefertiti made their family life a central theme. This public display of affection presented the royal family as the sole conduit to the divine. Nefertiti was the female principle of the divine, balancing her husband. She is depicted at nearly the same scale as her husband, a clear visual statement of her elevated status. Around his 5th year, the pharaoh took a radical step. He changed his name from Amenhotep to Akhenaten, declaring war on the old religious order. Akhenaten rejected the powerful priesthood and elevated the Aten above all others. This was the dawn of a religious revolution, and Nefertiti was his most ardent supporter. Thebes was no longer a suitable capital. Akhenaten and Nefertiti chose a virgin site in the desert and founded a new city dedicated to the Aten. They called it Akhetaten, known today as Amarna. With the new city came a revolutionary new art style, characterized by naturalism and emotional expression. Nefertiti, with her famous beauty, became the chief subject of this new aesthetic. In the City of the Sun, Nefertiti stood side by side with her husband, 2 living gods on earth. At the heart of this revolution stood Akhenaten, a visionary, and to the old guard, a dangerous heretic. He believed the universe was governed by the Aten, a radical departure from Egypt's complex pantheon. He was attempting to erase all the other gods. By his side stood Nefertiti, his great royal wife, a true believer in this disruptive project. She's shown as a leading figure in the new cult, a powerful force in her own right. Together they presented themselves as the sole intermediaries between humanity and the Aten. By challenging the old gods, they were directly challenging the powerful priesthood of Amun-Ra. It was a high-stakes gamble that would set in motion a chain of events that would define their reign and their legacy. Atenism was a faith stripped of complex mythology and animal-headed deities. The Aten was the sun itself, the source of light, warmth and life. This was a shift from a national religion to a universal one for all of humanity. The theology is expressed in the great hymn to the Aten, speaking of the sun disk as a universal creator. Life was to be lived in the light of the sun under the guidance of the royal family. The only path to the Aten was through Akhenaten and Nefertiti, making the royal family more powerful. This placed Nefertiti in a position of unprecedented spiritual authority. Families were encouraged to worship the royal family at small domestic shrines. The love between Akhenaten and Nefertiti became the metaphor for the Aten's love for its creation. Never before in Egyptian history had a queen been depicted with such prominence and authority. In the art of Amarna, Nefertiti is almost always present, a constant companion to her husband. She is shown at a scale equal to his, a deliberate visual statement of her importance. This was a radical break from tradition, where queens were typically shown as smaller, subordinate figures. Here, Nefertiti stands as a partner, a co-ruler who shares in the pharaoh's divine status and kingly duties. Her power was not merely reflected from her husband, it was inherent and celebrated. The evidence for her power is startling and unambiguous. On the walls of temples, she is shown performing roles that were once the sole prerogative of the king. Most remarkably, there are depictions of Nefertiti smiting the enemies of Egypt, a classic pharaonic pose symbolizing the triumph of order over chaos. To see a queen adopting this powerful, violent imagery was revolutionary. It suggests that her role was not confined to the religious sphere, but extended into the political and military authority of the state. She was not just a priestess, she was a ruler, embodying the power of the throne itself. Her titles and epithets further underscore her unique position. She was called Lady of the Two Lands, a title usually associated with the king and mistress of Upper and Lower Egypt. In the new city of Akhetaten, she had her own large palace and a sunshade temple, known as the Maru Aten, dedicated to her. It seems she was worshipped there, alongside her husband and the Aten. Inscriptions reveal that she was seen as the sweet-voiced counterpart to Akhenaten, whose soothing presence calmed the god and brought blessings upon the land. She was an active and essential component of the New World Order. Furthermore, Nefertiti's role as the mother of 6 daughters was central to the state ideology. The succession of the dynasty depended on her children. Her daughters, particularly the eldest, Meritaten and Ankhesenaten, were also given prominent roles in court life and religious ritual. This focus on the female line was another unusual aspect of the Amarna period. It created a powerful matriarchal presence at the heart of the royal court, with Nefertiti as its head. Her influence was woven into the very fabric of the political, religious and family life of the Amarna revolution. To house their revolution, they built Akhetaten, the horizon of the Aten, in the empty desert. Unlike cramped cities like Thebes, Akhetaten was open with temples designed to let the sunlight pour in. Everything about the city was designed to serve the Aten. The city contained everything needed for the Egyptian state to function, from palaces to workshops. For a brief period, Akhetaten was the vibrant heart of the Egyptian empire. Each day, Akhenaten and Nefertiti would process along the royal road to perform rituals to the Aten. But this perfect city was built on a fragile foundation, dependent on Akhenaten and Nefertiti. While the sun shone on Akhetaten, shadows were gathering. The city of the sun disk was destined to have a short, tragic history. For years, Nefertiti stood at the pinnacle of power, her image inscribed across Amarna. Then something changes. The vibrant queen begins to fade from the historical record. What caused this sudden disappearance? The simplest explanation: Nefertiti had died, perhaps a victim of plague. Another theory suggests a dramatic falling out or a political disagreement. A third, more extraordinary possibility: what if she ascended to an even greater height? Some believe she transformed, took on a new identity and continued to rule. In the chaotic final years of Akhenaten's reign, the historical record becomes cloudy. The pharaoh himself dies around his 17th year on the throne, leaving a precarious power vacuum. The revolution he started had turned much of the country against him, and the question of succession was critical. In this moment of uncertainty, a new ruler appears in the official records. This ruler is a mysterious figure, a pharaoh who reigned for a very short time, perhaps only 2 or 3 years, between Akhenaten and the famous boy king, Tutankhamun. The throne name of this ruler was Ankheperur. The identity of this pharaoh is one of the greatest puzzles in all of Egyptian history. To complicate matters, this ruler used different personal names. Sometimes the name is Smenkhkare, who seems to have been a male co-regent of Akhenaten. At other times, however, the throne name Ankheperur is associated with a different personal name, Neferneferuaten. This name, which means beautiful are the perfections of the Aten, is strikingly similar to Nefertiti's own full name, Neferneferuaten Nefertiti. This similarity is too great to be a coincidence, and it forms the basis of a truly revolutionary theory about the succession. The evidence becomes even more compelling when we look at the grammar. In some versions of the pharaoh Neferneferuaten's cartouche, there are feminine indicators within the hieroglyphs. It is as if the scribes were struggling with how to write the name of a female who had taken on the titles of a male king. Furthermore, some epithets used for this pharaoh, such as effective for her husband, make little sense for a male ruler, but would be perfectly fitting for a queen who had succeeded her husband. The clues, scattered across different artifacts, seem to point in one astonishing direction: that the pharaoh Neferneferuaten was a woman. Artifacts from Tutankhamun's tomb provide more tantalizing hints. Many of the objects in his famously lavish burial were not originally made for him. They were inherited or repurposed from his immediate predecessors. Among these items are objects inscribed with the name of the pharaoh Neferneferuaten. Some of these objects, when studied closely, appear to have been originally created for a woman before being adapted for a male king. All of these tangled threads, the similar name, the feminine grammar, the repurposed objects, lead us to one primary and very famous suspect for the identity of this mysterious female pharaoh. Could Queen Nefertiti and the enigmatic pharaoh Neferneferuaten be the same person? Some scholars believe so. The theory suggests Nefertiti became pharaoh in her own right, adopting a new royal name and ruling as king, much like Hatshepsut before her. This would explain her sudden disappearance as queen and the feminine traces in Neferneferuaten's titles. It implies Akhenaten elevated Nefertiti to co-ruler, preparing her for sole kingship. Not all agree. Some argue Neferneferuaten was a daughter or a male relative, and the evidence remains fragmentary. The debate is fierce, with clues that are ambiguous and open to interpretation. Yet the idea of King Nefertiti is compelling, fitting her pattern of breaking tradition and wielding power. If true, she would have steered Egypt through turmoil after Akhenaten's death, bridging the Amarna era and the restoration under Tutankhamun. This would make her not just a legendary queen, but one of history's most remarkable female rulers. Nefertiti's possible reign as pharaoh remains one of Egypt's greatest mysteries. Whoever ruled after Akhenaten, their reign was brief and marked by dramatic change. Amarna's religious revolution faltered, and the old priesthood waited to reclaim power. Foreign policy suffered, and Akhenaten's death left his vision vulnerable. The new pharaoh, possibly Neferneferuaten, began reconciling with the old guard and priesthood. The court abandoned Amarna, returning to Thebes, a clear admission of failure. Within a generation, Amarna was deserted, its memory erased by later pharaohs. Akhenaten and his family's names were chiseled from monuments, their temples dismantled. If Nefertiti ruled as pharaoh, she presided over the undoing of her own revolution. Her final act may have been leading Egypt back to the old gods and ways. With Amarna's fall, Nefertiti vanishes from history, leaving only questions. The dream ended, but her enigma endured. After Amarna's fall, Nefertiti's fate is lost to history. No records reveal her end or burial. Her tomb remains undiscovered. Archaeologists have searched from Amarna to the Valley of the Kings, hoping for a clue. Theories abound. Did she die as queen or as pharaoh, and was her tomb destroyed or hidden? The Amarna legacy's erasure means any trace of her was a target for destruction. No funerary objects or tombs bear her name as a deceased queen. For such a prominent figure to vanish so completely is extraordinary. The search continues, using science and re-examined finds, hoping to find Nefertiti, perhaps under another name, or none at all. Her disappearance remains one of Egyptology's most tantalizing mysteries. The hunt for Nefertiti often centers on unidentified royal mummies. In 1898, Victor Loret found 3 anonymous mummies in KV 35. One, the younger lady, was once thought to be Nefertiti. DNA tests revealed she was Akhenaten's sister and Tutankhamun's mother, ruling out Nefertiti. Another lead, 2 unidentified women in KV 21, one possibly Tutankhamun's wife and Nefertiti's daughter. Identifying her daughter could help extrapolate Nefertiti's DNA, offering a new path. Science is complex, but hope remains. In 2015, Nicholas Reeves proposed that Tutankhamun's tomb hides a sealed chamber, possibly Nefertiti's intact tomb. Radar scans have been inconclusive, but the theory persists. Nefertiti may lie just beyond a wall, waiting to be found. The search for her remains is as alive as ever. Nefertiti's legacy endures, even as her fate remains unknown. Her iconic bust is one of the world's most recognized images, symbolizing beauty, power, and grace. She's become a global icon and a symbol of female empowerment. Nefertiti held real authority, possibly even ruling as pharaoh. Her story is celebrated as that of a trailblazer who shaped her own destiny. The mystery of her end only adds to her allure. Each new theory keeps her story alive and evolving. Nefertiti's life was one of transformation. Queen, possible pharaoh and enduring legend. Her name means the beautiful one has come, and her legacy shines as brightly as ever. She remains a powerful, mysterious queen whose story continues to inspire. We began with the image of a queen whose beauty captivated the world. But Nefertiti was far more. She was a woman of power, substance, and revolutionary spirit. As great royal wife, she was an active partner in reshaping Egypt. Her influence is clear in art and history, depicting her as her husband's equal. The theory that she became Pharaoh Neferneferuiten adds a dramatic climax to her story. If true, she joined the rare ranks of female kings, guiding Egypt through upheaval. Whether as queen or pharaoh, her significance is undeniable. Nefertiti's journey from revolutionary queen to enduring icon proves her legacy is as timeless as her famous image. Her story continues to fascinate and inspire, echoing through history. Nefertiti's legacy is linked to the revolution she and Akhenaten championed. The Amarna period was ultimately a failure. The dream of a world united in worship could not survive its founders. Akhenaten was abandoned, the old gods were restored, and a campaign was launched to erase the memory of the heretic king and his family. For centuries this campaign was successful, yet a legacy cannot be so easily erased. The very act of attempting to destroy it created a mystery. The dismantled temple blocks allowed for the painstaking reconstruction of the world of Amarna. The attempt to silence her, ironically, preserved the evidence of her power. The unique Amarna art style represented a dramatic break with artistic convention. Nefertiti stands at the very heart of this complex legacy. Her story is a powerful reminder that the voices of the vanquished can echo through time. In the end, the attempt to erase her has only amplified our fascination. The story of Nefertiti is unfinished, an active investigation unfolding in the 21st century. The search for her tomb captures the imagination of the world. The scientific quest to identify her remains pushes the boundaries of what is possible. Nefertiti's power lies in her ability to inspire questions. She is a symbol of female strength, a cultural icon, and an unsolved historical mystery. The beautiful one came, she ruled, and in a way she never left. Queen Nefertiti achieved a form of immortality that has outlasted the stone of her monuments and the gold of her dynasty. Her story is not over. With every new discovery, the search for answers continues.